Southern Africa, home of many wild animals, whether small or big, especially the young animals, are in need of human help. And when the young ones are strong enough, the animal rescuers help them to settle back into the wild. In this episode of Raising Wildlife, this animal caretaker is raising giant rats to save human lives by detecting landmines and diseases. Esme, a baby rhino, and David, her canine companion, are special best friends, but her size can cause unintentional harm. This tiny creature, a bat, needs to learn how to fly at flight school. First, we travel to Hoedspruit Endangered Species Centre in Limpopo. The sanctuary is nestled between the Kruger National Park and Bleda River Canyon, the second largest canyon in Africa. Focused on sustaining rare, vulnerable and threatened species, this facility is unique. Like these white rhinoceros caught in the middle of an illegal trade war for their horns. Her caretaker, Natasha, is all too familiar with the threat that her calf will face once she is released. For now, Natasha's responsibility is rehabilitating the youngster. Esme the rhino has been in the care of Natasha for 8 months. At the centre, all the endangered wildlife are heavily protected.
Okay, so Esme arrived by us when she was plus minus a month old. Her mom didn't produce any milk due to it was her first calf she had. So the owner from a nearby game reserve phoned us and asked us if we can please take care of Esme. And then she arrived here by us where we started rehabilitating her.
Natasha hopes that people can be prevented from ever entering and participating in the cruel practice of hunting rhino for their horns. This is one of the core reasons why Esme has David, a watchdog, as a close protector. Esme knows that it is time for her morning milk.
Sit, Liffy. Sit.
Weaning a rhino calf off milk in the wild will start at 2 months, but can take up to a little over 12 months.
Okay, so Esme is about 10 months old now. And on this age, babies are still very critical. You need to make sure her milk is fine, it's the right temperature, she gets all the supplements in she does need to get in.
This unusual couple share a close bond.
So David was brought to us when he was about a month old. So we introduced David and Esme together for Esme for a companion animal, also more for security for Esme. Esme will not be on her own. She'll have a little friend to take care of her.
Looks like Esme is ready for her walk, her pastime after breakfast.
So when Esme gets weaned, it will be about 18 months, so it will be in next year. The plan is for the owner to decide whether Esme stays with us or whether she goes. But Esme is a very important rhino for the owner. They are wild rhinos where she comes from.
Rhinoceros have no natural predators due to their size, thickness of their skin, and in the case of Esme, her mother would protect her to the end. The only known enemy to the white rhino is man, and in particular poachers. Later, Esme's curiosity gets the better of her. After all, she is still learning about her new world. Now to a popo located in Tanzania, situated between Kenya and Uganda. Tanzania is the 13th largest country in Africa and the 31st in the world. Here at the centre, the main focus is explosives and tuberculosis detection by training rodents to sniff out and identify the respective scents. This is achieved by what is known as detection rat technology. Estadiov is one of the caretakers here at the medical centre, and together with his trusted giant pouched rat, have cured many locals of disease. A TB detecting rat can test 100 samples in 20 minutes, whereas a medical technician would take up to 4 days for the same result. A good example of human and animal working together.
This is Sykwalker.
The rat is busy and inquisitive, but once placed in the glass cage, the rodent's senses light up, ready to start the medical work. There are 3 holes where 3 different samples will be placed for testing.
I'm wearing gloves to avoid contamination because I will be handling these TB samples.
Estadiov is now placing positive and negative medical samples in the tray for analysis by the pouched rodent.
I'm now letting the rat smell the samples, and he will show me which one is positive and which one is negative.
Sykwalker will be challenged with 30 samples each session. If he scratches at a particular hole, that sample is positive.
He just identified a positive sample.
Acknowledged by the clicking sound.
Every time he makes a positive detection, he gets a reward. I feed him. If he scratches at a hole for more than 3 seconds, I make the clicking noise.
Daily sessions last for no more than 20 minutes. These large medical detectives get tired very quickly as their smell sensors are working overtime. They're always rewarded with a tasty banana treat.
We are done here.
Another successful day for the team, which means more humans will hopefully be cured. Let's return to Hoedspruit in South Africa, to a centre focused on endangered species. The facility is known for its research and breeding programs of endangered wildlife species. It's time for Esme's daily walk.
Okay, so let me just get her out.
The centre's care extends to threatened wildlife like this white rhino calf.
Okay, so now it's time for Esme's walk. We would take her on daily walks and try and keep her out all day. This is for her to eat grass and also get some exercise in. Come here, Esme. Come here, Esme, come. Come here, Skint. Come. Come, Papa. Come.
Part of Esme's rehabilitation is getting her used to the bushveld, and having a little fun along the way does wonders for this special friendship. David is not only protecting Esme, he also provides companionship for the endangered rhinoceros, not usually possible in the wild.
Okay, so what can go wrong with Esme's walk is she can get a fright for anything, either a bird, one of the sable antelopes walking around, and then she'll freak out and she'll run. And there is no way that you'll be able to stop her. In that process, she can hurt herself, she can push over the person walking with her, or she can either also hurt David. So we try to take her around in quiet places and also getting her used to car sounds at this moment, because car sounds can also frighten her and then she'll start running away.
Being startled is normal at this stage of Esme's development, but the more she experiences her natural terrain, the easier it will become for this large mammal.
Yeah. Okay, so for Esme, her walk also helps for her grazing. So with her milk, we can't forever keep her on her milk. So we slowly start taking the bottle away, pushing down the bottle. So that actually makes her a little bit more hungry. So that makes her graze more. And for that matter, she'll get more food in. And she'll start getting used to not having a bottle anymore. Come here, Esme. Come. Come here, Smokey. Come. Come here, Skins. Come. Okay, so being a dog smaller than Esme, there is a few hiccups that we do have. Esme thinks probably she's a dog, and David thinks he's a rhino. So Esme plays very rough with David. So then the one day Esme actually stood on David's foot, hurting it a little bit. So the vet did come out and found that nothing is broken. So David is fine.
He enjoys being in the wild with Esme.
There has to be someone with them all the time because David's imagination goes and then he goes with it. So we always have either one of the curators or guides sitting with them. So we'll usually come here, the guide will pick a spot, curator will pick a spot, and we'll just leave them to browse, for David to play and Esme to eat.
When Esme was born, she weighed approximately 60 kilograms. She would normally start grazing from 2 months old and would normally stay with her mother for 2 to 4 years. For now, she has her trusted canine for company. Together with her human caretaker, Natasha, Esme receives round-the-clock care to enjoy the freedom of browsing in the wild.
Los Esme se eina.
The next minder, Etienne, is arriving to take over looking after Esme and David. This ensures the young rhino will have many hours in the wild.
Okay, so this is Etienne, one of our guides at Hoedspruit Endangered Species Centre. He's taking over by me now to look after Esme and David when we go quickly to the big rhinos.
There are several more rhino being cared for here at Hoedspruit Endangered Species Centre. These 2-year-old boys are wild and not as friendly as Esme, so Natasha needs to be very careful. Let's return to Limpopo in the centre of Tanzania in the east of Africa. Limpopo's scent-detecting rats have been working in the region for more than 20 years with much success.
I'm Dr. George Mgode. I'm a program manager of Limpopo TB detection program in Tanzania.
A well-known facility serving the community.
We started with training these rats for mine detection, and later on came on to train these rats to detect tuberculosis, which we thought has a more global distribution.
It's a fail-safe system.
We opted to go for rats because the rodents where the rats belong is the most diverse in terms of species diversity and abundance, number of animals per species.
This breed has positive attributes useful to humans.
They have highly developed sense of smell, olfactory capacity, and they are considered to possess the largest number of olfactory receptor genes than any other mammal species.
Therefore, making these animals easy to train to sniff out any medical target.
So we are able to detect patients who have been missed with the sputum smear microscopy, and in some hospitals, patients who have been tested with the gene expert are also turning out to be negative with the gene expert, but positive by the rat.
This is remarkable. A rodent can out-detect medical equipment. Good news for people whose samples had been missed before.
I love rats because they have more to offer to human being than what we think. But if we consider this beneficial use of the rats, like currently we are training them to diagnose TB, it's a TB and other areas which are potential areas which are coming up. I think the rats have more benefit to offer to human being than we think.
When we return, this rat can detect landmines. However, caution must be exercised. Now let's go to Rewild in the town of Palaborwa, situated in the province of Limpopo. This region is well known for iron and copper mining. Tourism and wildlife are a favourite destination point in this area. Here at Rewild Rehabilitation Centre, the main focus is on hand-rearing orphaned wildlife in preparation to be released once they're healthy and fit. This is Jane Bird, the caretaker of this little fella. It is the only facility that cares for injured bats in this area.
My background is, or my passion is bats. So that's very much my focus. I've rehabilitated wildlife all my life.
There are over 1,100 species of bats in the world. Devan is a Cape Seriton bat, recognisable by his yellowish-white colouring. He has a problem flying and is still in flight school, learning how to take off.
These bats are being absolutely persecuted. The professional pest controllers tend to fumigate or do other nasty things to get bats out of roofs.
Male bats are smaller than females. Devan will only grow to approximately 9 centimetres and will only weigh 6.5 grams.
There are over 1,200 species worldwide, and everyone has its own milk composition. The wrong milk formula has very ill effects in the bats. They very quickly develop things like metabolic bone disease, and those bats tend to then not be releasable.
Devan's diet consists mainly of beetles, moths, mosquitoes and bugs. Bats like him are commonly seen flying at dusk. They normally hunt for insects that stay or hover near lights.
This is Devan. He's a Cape Serratine bat. This is an adult bat. This is his adult size. He doesn't get any bigger than this. These little guys can eat up to 600 mosquitoes in an hour.
This species is fortunately not under threat, but many other species numbers are in decline due to them being perceived as pests.
Bats are unable to take off from the ground, a lot of the bat species, so they actually need height, and they jump off, and when the wind catches their wings, then they can get going.
Devan must warm up his wings before flight, which he can do by regulating his body temperature.
So we have what is called flight school for those that are lagging behind. Devan was very nervous about flying, so he'd take a long time to get ready. He'd do lots of wing stretches and stretch this side and a few practice flaps and echolocate, make sure he knew where he was going, and a bit more stretching. And it could take quite a long time, and your arm would be shaking and you'd be waiting. And finally Devan would pluck up the courage and off he'd go. And we had another bat in the cage called Ricky, who was also Cape Serratine. And every time Devan would have a go at flying, Ricky would fly out of somewhere straight at Devan, and of course swerve at the last minute, but it would be enough to upset Devan's flight, and he would end up on the floor or having a rather bad landing. So we did it. It's a bit of a wicked sense of humour of Ricky.
Jane helps Devan by keeping the room temperature warm before flight. The first few flights will only happen in the room to make sure his wings are working.
Bats are loud. We actually can't hear a lot of their calls. They're above our frequency. But some of them are actually the same decibels as a jet plane taking off. They are extremely loud. When they echolocate, they actually dislocate the bones in the ear, so they actually deafen themselves while they're emitting that sound, because otherwise they would damage their own ears.
Devan packs a mighty sonar-like system for flight that he will use effectively very soon. Let's return to Hoedspruit, which borders Zimbabwe, Botswana and Mozambique. This is the largest privately owned conservation area in the world. Natasha is entering the enclosure of the 4 wild rhinos. These 2 male bulls must be approached with care. They can attack. That's a good sign. They're backing off, allowing Natasha to pass. She must remain alert while in this enclosure. One wrong move could cause a rhino to charge.
Steady, steady. Steady, steady. Okay, so here we have white rhinos. So our 4 rhinos in this enclosure are white rhinos.
White rhinoceros have distinctive wide and broad lips. They're also known as browsers because they eat from the ground and not off trees.
Okay, so these 2 girls is Lionsden and Dingledale. They were victims of poaching.
They were attacked by humans. Both were left seriously injured, fortunately still alive. They were rushed into the centre where they underwent immediate surgery. It took 2 months to repair the horns of the wounded animals.
So you couldn't put any stitches or anything in it, and it was an open wound. So that's the sad truth of rhinos being poached for their horns. So even Esme with her small little horn, they'll also poach her for that little horn. So here we try and keep our rhinos safe. We also actually dehorn them. So we try and keep them wild as possible. So we will bring out food for them and also have checks on them just to make sure that they are fine. My biggest fear is when Esme gets older, she is more vulnerable to be poached. With human greed going on in South Africa and Africa, with the rhino poaching, no rhino here will ever be safe. So we can win this fight against poaching. Even poor little Esme, when she grows up, she can also be a victim of poaching. So for now, we'll try and keep Esme safe till she is back into the wild.
After their rehabilitation, these giant mammals will also be able to roam freely in their natural habitat. But for now, they will remain in the care of the centre.
We would like children, for future generations, to see rhinos in person.
Although only 2 years old, these white rhinoceros are still relatively young and would naturally live till 40 or 50 in the wild.
Okay, we are now going to go and see how Esme is doing on her walk in the bush.
Later, Esme and David are in for a cool treat after their long walk in the bush. Back to the mountainous region of Tanzania for the last time. A seemingly quiet part of the country, however, conflict in the region left behind many problems. One of the problems included unexploded ammunitions left in the ground, often stood on by locals of all ages. Now a team of caretakers and rodents are clearing the fields for others to use.
My name is Shahid, and I'm from Morogoro.
Shahid spends most of his time clearing old mines.
We train rats to detect landmines.
This is no mean feat.
This area is known as the contamination area. This phase is the early stage of the training and would arrive here from the main office. This rat is 6 months old. He has been training here at this site for 1 week now. He has 1 more week to go to complete his training at this stage.
Later, during the advanced stage of training, it will take up to 3 months to train the rat efficiently, ensuring he'll be able to detect landmines at any given time.
This is where the actual landmines are buried, and not just samples of TNT.
The mine-detecting rats are moved along the rope for approximately half a metre or 50 centimetres at a time to assure the caretakers there are no live ammunitions below the ground that could harm civilians. This practice must be done with precision and accuracy to guarantee the field has been cleared.
The landmines that are buried here in this field have their fuses removed.
Once training is complete, they will face real situations.
When we look at the value which these rats are contributing, for example, the contribution of these rats in the mine-affected areas has been enormous.
The success rate of early detection by the pouched rats has been exponential, with a success rate of more than 10,000 patients misdiagnosed in the clinics but picked up by the rodents.
If you take this figure, if they were not detected by the rats, they would have been transmitting tuberculosis, each individual, up to 10 to 15 people per year. Why can't we call these our heroes?
These giant heroes of Tanzania are speeding up the healing process for the local community, ensuring healthy living for all ages. Let's travel back to Hoedspruit Endangered Species Centre for the last time. This facility has grown into one of the respected wildlife endangered animal species breeding programs in the world.
Come, Mexican. Come.
The long walk and playtime in the wild ensures that Esme will grow accustomed to her natural environment as a mega herbivore. Over time, she will become more confident as a rhinoceros, living with other creatures like her in the wild. And now, she has a special treat in store for her and David.
I am now after Esme's walk. I'm giving her a mud bath. She really enjoys playing in the mud. So it's more, the mud is more like helping her skin and making it a little bit more smoother and also protecting it from the sun. And then David also enjoys playing in the water. For now, Esme will be safe in our care, and we're doing everything that we can make her a happy rhino. So while we rehabilitate Esme, she will have a safe haven with her best friend, David.